Hey, what's up? What's up? This is Jeff from BKJMAC TV, and this is the BKJMAC podcast experience coming to you live from Brooklyn. Thank you, thank you. This is season 3, episode 1, and our first episode is we will examine the aftermath of the George Floyd death and from 2020. So basically, it's been 3 years since George Floyd was murdered by the Minneapolis Police Department. His death sparked a national outrage and an outcry. CNN was almost brought to the ground. A Target store in Minneapolis was destroyed. Many storefronts was destroyed in New York City and other major cities. Statues were toppled, graffitied, everything. It was the people showed that there was a level of frustration of the racism and the discrimination, pent up anger and rage. Black Lives Matter came to national prominence. The death and murder of George Floyd by the hands of disgusting police officers from Minneapolis, Minnesota, was national news. Donald Trump, who was the president of the United States at the time, was scared and was nervous because the protest came right at the White House, and he and his staff hid under a bunker. What has happened in the last 3 years since the murder of George Floyd? Well, a lot of things have changed. The media has respected the black man even more than ever before. Commercials, advertisements promoting slavery, symbols of slavery, has been removed. The Uncle Ben cereals, which had the picture of a black man or Aunt Jemima on the pancake bottle, has been removed, changed to the Pearl Mining Company. Certain opportunities were given to people of color. More diversity was created. Minor reforms in the police practices and dealing with people of color has changed. But there's still a tremendous amount that needs to be done. The last 3 years has been decent, but it could be better. The black experience in the United States is still off by 180 degrees. The reason I say that is because there's still a lack of opportunities. There's still a lack of resources that's not being afforded to people of color in the inner city and around the United States. There's only a few people of color that have been able to make it based on the omissions of guilt and the changes created by the George Floyd death and murder. But there's still many people of color left behind because things hasn't fully changed at all. Greater change and greater prosperity needs to be created. Greater accountability needs to be created. Right now, people of color, particularly black folks that live in New York City, are still struggling economically. And the ones that are better off, that are in the upper class and wealthy, they're fine financially. They're good. But the people that are below classes and that want to get to that level are finding a hard time because of the still lingering effects of racism and discrimination that's still in place. Overall, the murder of George Floyd woke up America, and it woke up America in a way that America hasn't been woken up since the 1960s or the early 1970s with the Black Panther movement. America, especially in New York City, is now half awake. It's not fully awake because we haven't had the protests anymore. We haven't seen the rallies anymore to protest oppression. They talk about racism from whites, but they're actually prejudice from blacks that keep other blacks down. And it's hard to deal with, but maybe things could change on that front as well. I'm a man that's hopeful for change in this world. George Floyd gave his life for change. He became the symbol for the new civil rights wave. There was an activist that prayed that we needed another Martin Luther King Jr. that was going to spearhead the second part for black suffrage, for all people. And we haven't gotten that yet, but we did got a martyr in George Floyd whose life was taken in order to enhance the welfare and remove the relics of racism and discrimination in American products that people of color consume on a daily basis. Things have changed, but it hasn't changed to a further extent. We need unions. There's too many people are afraid to enlist in a union because they're afraid of losing their jobs. That fear should not be warranted. That fear should not be welcomed. People should be allowed to come together. But that fear comes from a historical moment in history, which I will discuss in another future episode. But if that fear is overcome and people do come together and organize, then we will live the memory of George Floyd coming together and fighting for better opportunities in the workplace, better job security, better benefits, better living, just a better of everything than the current situation that we are forced to live in now. 3 years later, the state of America after the murder of George Floyd. How have America changed? America has only changed by 25%. 75% is still the same, and there's still more work that needs to be done, and we need to get that work done now. Thank you for listening to this episode of the BKJMAC podcast experience. Peace, love, always. One.